Hey, welcome to GC 365. Man, I'm glad you've joined us. We're at day 152. For those that started January 1, 152 days. Unbelievable. You made it this far. Way to go. Celebrate. I mean, whoo-hoo. Yeah, this is awesome. Now, I have a really privilege today because I have a guest with me. Aaron is like some of you that have just started. And this isn't day 152 for you. What day is this for you?
This is day one, Dan.
Day one.
Day one.
I challenge Aaron to join me in GC 365, and he hasn't read yet. But that's okay, because one of the things that we recognize as we read through the whole year, it doesn't matter where you begin. It's a discipline that will change your life. And as you know, for me, Aaron, I'm always trying to push you a little bit spiritually and everything. Tell about your business. What do you do?
So I'm a financial advisor. I manage the Raymond James office down at Mill Creek Town Center.
Okay.
So I've been doing it for 15 years. Love it. A lot of people interaction, you know?
Yes. And you help a ton of people. And I know that you have a wonderful, vibrant spiritual life. But talk to me about reading. What makes this hard for you? Because you're going to be watched by people that have exactly what you're feeling.
Yeah. So I my reluctant stand has always been growing up as a kid, strong dyslexic. Reading was never fun for me.
Yeah.
Right. So not that I don't want to read the Bible. It's just reading is not something I do.
You don't read
pleasure.
anything.
I don't read it for pleasure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I read it because I have to for work. Right. But I don't read because I enjoy it.
Right.
So that's been a struggle for my wife over the years. I've been married 22 years now.
Yeah.
She wants to get in the Word a lot, and that's always been my reluctance of, honey, it's just, I don't enjoy it. I want to do it, but I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
So
don't enjoy the reading.
The reading part.
Once you get to it, you probably will enjoy it. Now, I'm challenging you. What did I tell you? What was your excuse?
And my good friend Kylie Rose is giving me a hard time about this too, is I'm going to do Audible. Right. And I will listen to the one-year Bible.
So you open up your app here and it reads to you. You just, I love this part here. There's this little play button here. Okay. And it just starts talking to you. It's awesome, man.
Right.
And so if you've not done that yet and you're watching and you're done the 365, try it sometime to read to you. Now, I'll tell you what, my wife, this is the first year for her, by the way, reading through the one-year Bible. And what she says to me is that she plays it and she can't get anything out of the listening to it. She has to read it and play it. And then it kind of sticks out to her. So it's kind of cool.
Well, Dan, how long does it take on a normal day?
For me, this is 15 minutes.
Okay.
15 minutes a day.
I can do that.
And I just say, okay, here's my rule of thumb. Now, I do like to read a little bit.
Yep.
And I need to read. I need to keep up to date. I think you do too. So news is one of the things you got to know what's happening in the news. You're in the financial industry. I have to know what's happening in the news. So I make a rule: no news before the good news.
Okay.
So I have 15 minutes of reading, and it just doesn't take that long. It's just really simple.
Okay.
And I have a streak going of, let's see, I'll tell you my streak. And I'd love to know what your streak is, man. How many days do you have in your streak here? Let me just pull this up. How many weeks have I got there?
115.
115 weeks, which means that's more than 1 year.
Yeah.
That's a couple of years worth of reading that I haven't missed a single week in a couple of years. Now I missed some days. I only have 61 in my daily streak, but I've missed some days at times, but the thing is, the discipline is what changes your life, and that's my challenge to you. And I'm glad you're here, Aaron.
Yeah,
so let's dig in. We're on June 1, day 152, and it's a story, kind of an interesting story. You're jumping in right here. Yes. So I'll set the scene for you. Absalom's David's son, who becomes incredibly rebellious, actually attacks the king, forces him out of the kingdom. Then David has to retake his own home city, Jerusalem. And in order to do that, he has to fight his son. You have a son.
Yes, I do. I have a 15-year-old son, Colin, actually, who'll be 16 here in a couple weeks.
Wow,
so you've been warned. If you see a redhead driving a white Jeep, you've been warned.
Wow. So 16 years old.
Yeah.
there's testosterone, two
Yep.
males in
Yep.
it's got to be sticking out there a little bit for you, isn't it?
Again, I love having a son and a daughter, and they're two totally different relationships.
Yeah.
And yes, my son of the year, I love him to death. But yeah, there's challenges. He has testosterone. He likes to poke the bear.
Yes, that's true.
So yeah,
That's good. Well, Absalom, the interesting thing about David, he never disciplined his kids, and that came back to bite him pretty severely. And Absalom was one of those guys that was full of himself, never disciplined, but an incredibly handsome, incredibly strong guy. Led this army out. An interesting thing about Absalom, he had super long hair. Does your boy have long hair?
yes.
Does he?
Well,
So you need to tell him about this story.
Soccer player with the hair in the eyes. We have to get haircuts just so you can see.
So he's being chased by some of the king's men. His hair gets caught in the tree, and he ends up hanging from a tree, which is hilarious to me. He's hanging from a tree, which, first of all, that had to hurt.
Yeah.
And don't you wish you had that problem?
Yes, I know, Dan. I do not have that problem.
Anyway, the story is that that he then is killed, and David goes into grieving for his son, and I kind of understand. David just goes into grieving, and yet his army, which has essentially saved his life, is really upset that he's not recognizing them. So he calls them in, and he finally his general comes in and convinces him to go out and to talk to his troops. So that's kind of the snippet of the story, but I think it's a story, it's an age-old story of kids rebelling against their parents, and hopefully your story never turns out like that. I think it would be horrible. Now, this John passage is kind of cool because this is the last one. There's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. This is the last one of the stories that tell the whole story of Jesus' life. John was Jesus's closest disciple. And so as he's writing this story, he writes about early Sunday morning, Resurrection Day.
Okay.
Pretty cool story. Yeah. Mary goes to the tomb, sees that the stone's rolled away, and Peter and John have to run to see for themselves. And I think it's such a cool story. Really, the whole story is about how slowly everybody has revealed to them exactly how Jesus has resurrected. But the last one was Thomas. So I'm curious, do you ever have any doubts?
Sure. Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
So I really like the story of Thomas. I like the story of Thomas because he says, put your finger, Jesus says to Thomas, put your finger in my hand, put your hand in my side. Yeah. He said, I want you to believe. And then there's a passage here that I think is so cool. And I think it's here for us. It says, blessed is the one who believes without having seen. And it kind of, let me read it to you here. It says, you believe because you've seen. Blessed are those who believe without seeing me. And when I was thinking of that, I think he's kind of pointing forward to us. How long ago did you start really believing in Jesus in your life?
I was fortunate. I grew up in a Christian home. So I grew up in a strong Christian home. I taught Sunday school when I was in junior high school myself. Married my wife that I met through youth group at the church.
Nice.
And again, it's just been a part of our life.
So it's a foundation thing. So you found him early on in your life, and you've not regretted that.
Not at all. I think that's where I'm in today. The choice I've made today is it's been amazing how he's followed myself, my wife, my family through our journeys. Yeah. And it kept me out of a lot of trouble too.
Right on. Okay, so Psalms 119, a very interesting passage, the longest chapter in the Bible, Psalms 119, which is, if you've been reading Psalms 119 every day, you just kind of get in there and you see it. This one just goes on and on. If you didn't know this, Psalms 119 is in the very middle of the Bible. Okay. It's the longest chapter and also the middle of the Bible. There's nothing that really stood out in that to me, so I'm just gonna go to the Proverbs, which I think is an interesting proverb. The anger of the king is a deadly threat. The wise will try to appease it. When the king smiles, there's life. When his favor refreshes, he's like a spring rain. So who's the king in your house?
I laugh. My wife, she rules the roost. She's the king.
Okay. You didn't know that was coming,
Yeah,
did you? No. There's always a king. There's a king at work. There's a king in the house, all this. And Proverbs sometimes just states the obvious. When the person in charge is happy, everything goes a lot better. So, hey, we thank you for joining us on this GC 365. And I want you, when you see Aaron, I want you to check with him. Check his streak. See how he's doing. Let's see whether or not Aaron's got a streak going in GC 365. Thanks for starting this. And I hope this journey is a good journey for you. I hope it changes you.
Thanks for the challenge.
Yeah. Thanks, Aaron.
All right.
Okay. We'll see you next time on GC 365.